according to the.
Here we go.
Here we go, ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen. Welcome back to What Makes You Tick. And I have two guests on my show who I have been following for the last, I'd say just shy of 12 months now. I have Corey and Alicia. Welcome to the show. How are you both?
Hi, we're
Good. How are you?
good.
So you guys are in Texas, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. Well, kind of looking at the weather out here in Dublin and Ireland at the moment, I think you guys are probably in a better place.
It is
Um,
pretty spectacular weather right now. We're in like right before it gets too hot,
Yeah,
hot.
we took a walk this morning.
Yeah.
did you?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
My sister lives in Philly, so she's not a million miles away from you guys. But
yeah.
she's and my I have friends of mine in Nashville. So like
Oh, cool.
it's funny that the world is so small, isn't it? With digital and social media, it's just everybody's literally within a stone's throw of each other because of all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but listen, I'm so happy to have you on the show. So for anybody who doesn't know, right, I followed Alicia and Corey's page on TikTok, and we have never met. Corey and I had a conversation about a month or so ago when I
Yeah.
reached out and I invited you both to come on the podcast. Um, One of the reasons I did this is because Corey, you have suffered a massive injury in March
Yes.
2024, right?
Yeah.
And the journey that you've been on since then is incredibly inspiring. And
Thanks.
it's not only the inspiration of the work that you've done, but it's also the inspiration of the support Alicia has been to you. And to
Oh,
see
she's been there.
to see you both as a team and to see how you interact, because we only get snippets of it, right? Because of social media, but to get those snippets, it really is. I suppose it's a true love story, right? Um, and I wanted you both to come on and share your story. And but before we get into the injury and the accident that you were in March, I'd love to understand how you both met and where did this love story begin?
Well, we met when I was 18. But we were both dating other people and we both grew up in the same small town. So everybody kind of knows everybody. Um, so we just sort of grew up around each other, running in the same circles.
I was in a band with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was the guitarist in my band, and she came over with him, and she was playing piano, and I was like smitten.
You were in.
Yeah. But it wasn't until I approached him, I was 25. So several years later,
Wow.
I made the first move finally. I broke the ice and I like sat down next to him and I was just like, hey.
She said hi to the guy sitting across from me. She was like, "Hi, Blake. Hi, Matt. Hi, Corey." And I was like, "Hello."
And
And
the
then
rest.
he won me over with this line. We went out, we left the bar we were at. We went to like it's called Andy's Basement, and it's very grungy, dark, like cool spot that we would go to. And we got a booth, and he said, "Do you want to get married and have some babies?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And we went and we bought our rings, like I think a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
And then we flew off to Vegas at about a year of being together and we got married.
Moved really fast.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they say when
When
you know, right?
now.
Yeah, when
Exactly.
well, we were ready, it was just like we'd been sort of dancing around each other for years, and then we were just at that time, when we were ready to start a family and get to it, which we did.
Good on you, yeah, because you've two beautiful kids now. And it's interesting because like you hear these stories, right? And these are
Mhm.
like proper, true, like fairy tale stuff. Like you see each other when you're young, you go off and live your lives, and then all of a sudden there's this magnetism that comes back to bring you guys together.
It was
And
always there.
It was always there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we just were in other relationships and
I avoided you.
I avoided you too. I was like, oh, I can't look at that man without it being something intense.
Yeah. That night I went like we went out of the bar and we were sitting on these steps and she wanted me to go to the first bar that we're at to show me off, I guess. And I didn't go with her. She left and went to get a shot, and went home to take a nap. And then when I woke up, I checked my Snapchat, and this guy goes, "I know you're Jesse." And then turned it, and it was Alicia. And she goes, "Corey Claytor." And I was like, I jumped up and put my clothes on really fast, tripped over myself, putting my clothes on, and then like a few years later, she came up on Facebook, and I was like, "I'm sick of it." Just kidding. And she deleted her Facebook completely. So we had no
What?
contact. And then
I became his neighbor. I mean, it was like a wild ride. Like I literally
Wow.
moved in like a few houses down, and then
yeah,
like very shortly after, I
2
moved
weeks.
in with him. So
Yeah. I kicked my roommates out, and she moved in.
yeah.
Wow, that's so good. It's so good, isn't it? And like, it's something that you guys, it's funny why the timing obviously wasn't right over those couple of years, but as soon as it obviously became, you guys became free agents, it was like, right, here we go. Let's do
Oh
this.
yeah.
And Corey, you worked in the fire department, right?
Yes.
How long did you work there, and why did you become a fireman?
5 years. And I became a fireman when she told me she was pregnant. I was like, now's the time. And basically like the schedule was a big selling point for me. And I just always wanted to be a firefighter since I was a little boy.
Really?
I just went for it. Yeah.
Good on you. And what were you? So were you still in the band performing and doing that beforehand, or what were you doing
Uh,
beforehand?
I think at the time I was
Just working like a regular job.
Yeah.
just printing t-shirts at Norman Roscoe.
Okay. So like, and
Hmm.
fair play. So you went out, decided to become a fireman. How old were you when you became a fireman?
I think I was 30,
Brilliant.
No,
31.
really?
I'm 36 now. I was there for 5 years.
Oh yeah, it's just that the process of becoming a firefighter takes several years. So like,
Okay. Okay.
you can't just it takes a couple years before you're actually in the service.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we started that journey when I was pregnant with Clyde in 2018, right?
Okay.
So then a couple years later after fire school and EMS, he joined the Argyle Fire Department and then
Right.
just went from there, became a paramedic in 2020 and
I'd say a very proud day in the family. Yeah.
yeah, it was
Oh yeah.
great, My
I
parents
do love that though. I love so a lot of time people fall into a kind of like a rut of right, I'm in this job, so therefore I'll stay in it and it'll be fine and like I'm here now,
Mhm.
I get too old and I fell into that point before. I years and years and years ago, actually around that time I wanted to be a physiotherapist and I decided
Oh.
against it. I was too scared, right? I said, right, I've 20 years or whatever it was in my career. Oh, it's too late for me now. And in hindsight, it wasn't too late for me.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, I take serious admiration for people like yourself who decide, right, I'm going to change my career and go for it. Um, and it's brave, but it's worth it, especially if you have the support.
Oh
Um,
yeah. As a
yeah,
sport.
yeah. And Alicia, you are a photographer by trade. Am I right in saying that?
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
I watched one of your videos on TikTok, and I think one of them was based on why do you want to be why do you like photography or something? And it was basically because I can take photos of my kids. And then it
Yeah.
showed a lovely montage of your kids. How did you fall into photography?
My kids, like, I would say is where it sort of started.
No.
I mean,
It
for
was her
me,
birthday one day.
well, we went to go buy a camera, but the way that my career as a photographer started was taking photos of my kids
Okay.
because we picked up a camera and it was just like a fun thing, but I didn't really start taking what I would consider real photos until I was chasing my kids around.
Okay. And then
And then
able to
it
play with the flares and stuff and the lens speed and all that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and see
Yeah.
how it reacts. Because yeah,
Well, I started taking pictures of other people's kids, right, and their family pictures. So that's kind of how that business model started, right?
lovely. And what's the
Mm-hmm.
name of your business?
Photography by Alicia Claytor. It's pretty straightforward.
Keep it simple. Keep it
Yeah,
simple.
it's
That we don't need to
simple.
complicate things. Life is complicated enough.
Yeah, it's definitely taken me, opened up doors for me that would otherwise I wouldn't have gotten to
You
do.
just got back. Done by that.
I just got back from West Texas. I was taking behind the scene photos for a film set, a movie that was being made out there.
Cool.
And I've gotten to do some photojournalism for Dallas Observer, which was really cool. Just different things that having a camera will allow you to be a
She's
part
a
of.
social media manager as well.
Yes, I get to take photos for a local business, so the camera opens up lots of doors. It's really fun.
Business, so they can look on TikTok.
Barnhart's Barbershop. Yeah, it's
Barnhart's
a
Barbershop. I'll put all
Barnhart's
these.
Barbershop.
I'll put all these in the show notes as well, and we'll tag all these
Yeah.
businesses as well because, like, I think it's unreal. And you know what? Sometimes it's not the thing that you focused on in the picture; it's the thing goes on behind the picture that is really interesting. I
Mhm.
worked in the creative industry and creative advertising agencies for years and years and years, and worked with some of the best photographers in Ireland and across Europe, and a lot of the time was very much about yes, you want the piece and focus, but sometimes it's the description behind the image is where the magic happens.
Yeah.
So it's such an art. I love it. So fair play to you. Good on you.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, so the love story, I think it's brilliant because it's people who are listening now might have similar stories that they met their childhood sweetheart or their the person that they ended up with years before they actually ended up with them. So if you're in that position, don't give up.
Yeah, for
It could
sure.
still happen. Um,
Yeah.
and tell me the people will have heard us talk about you were in an accident last year, Corey. And I would, if you don't mind, I would. I think it would be important to maybe describe what was happening on that day, if you can,
Yeah, for sure.
beforehand, and maybe
Yeah.
describe what happened, and then we could potentially take it from there.
I'm gonna let just tell. Go ahead.
Well, we dropped the kids off at school and we were taking the day to shop for a house. And interestingly enough, Corey's the type of person to never get sick, and he just so happened to be sick that day. Like, and for him, it's like felt like glass was like cutting inside of his lungs with a cough. Of course, he was like playing it off.
So she says,
Yeah, like
I don't remember.
yeah, he was sick, but we were looking for houses. We landed on the one. It checked all the boxes, the school district. It's really close to my parents. It was back into our hometown and we were like, this is it. We went to the fire station to get some paperwork notarized. Um, and he wanted to go home and ride his bike for an hour while I went to go pick the kids up from school to decompress after all the house hunting, which is a chore, when you're
Fair.
shopping for a house, it's a deal. And then that was it. I picked up the kids from school. We drove past the house. I showed them the house that we were gonna buy. They were excited. Um, and then on the way home, I noticed that cars were slowing down and I exited. And I saw Corey's bike on the ground. And then that was it. That was kind of like the beginning.
Back too.
That was the beginning of the whole accident.
My son's on my back too.
Yeah. Clyde and Alice were in the back of the car. We pulled up onto the scene. The ambulance and firemen were not there yet. So it had just happened. And then I ran up to him and I knew it was bad when I saw him. So
Tongue was swollen up. I had blood coming out of my mouth. My eyes were back in the back of my head. Like I was out.
yeah,
You
it
were.
was not good.
And do you know what caused the accident?
Yeah.
Yes. So Corey was stopped. Um, and a guy just hit him from behind. He flew 200 feet out. The guy, unfortunately, he was driving. He didn't have a driver's license. It was suspended. He wasn't driving his car, and he doesn't have insurance. So it was,
But he stopped.
he did stop. I did see the guy that had hit Corey there. I just didn't, he wasn't my focus, right? On the day of the accident, I was just pretty dialed into what was going on with
I was like
Corey.
agonally breathing.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah,
what?
it was
What breathing?
agonal breath. Like it's when things are really bad, when you're on your way out.
Oh wow.
It was pretty graphic, and I definitely have had one pretty severe nightmare from that experience.
Just one.
Yeah, one vivid one that woke me up. Yeah,
The
and then yeah.
the moment you got to Corey and when you were with him,
Mhm.
it probably felt like a lifetime, but how long did it take for the paramedics to
Oh,
get
it
on
felt
scene?
like forever.
Mm,
Like I felt like I was waiting for a long time, but um apparently like they made a fast call. Like they actually the fire truck was chasing an 18-wheeler that was on fire, if you can believe it. Saw Corey's bike on the ground and turned around to go to the accident. Like they actually made fantastic time. It just when it's your loved one that needs assistance, it feels like an
mm,
eternity to wait.
Yeah.
I also was under the impression that when accidents happened, people get in the ambulance and go, but they have to be stabilized first.
mm.
So I was waiting for them. I was standing by the car with the kids. They were still in the car, safe, for them to get him stabilized before we headed off to the hospital, which was just wild.
I'd say
And
I can't imagine it, but can you remember what was going through your head?
oh, yeah. I mean, there happened to also be a nurse who was there, and I asked her, like, you know, I just said, "How bad is this?" And she said, "It's really bad." And I thought, well, I was playing through the scenario of Corey may not make it even to the hospital, right? That I might get there and have to face the fact that he's not going to, be alive anymore when we get there. Um, Definitely was playing that. I mean, that was going through my mind because I knew how bad it was. It was a very surreal moment, and then it just didn't end. That was a very traumatic moment, but it just kept going because this injury was so brutal. And, Corey didn't say his first words until 4 months later. So it was just kind of an ongoing traumatic event from that moment. It
So
was the start of everything.
the new, as they say.
Yeah.
What Corey? What do you remember, if anything, of that day, or what's
The
your?
last thing I remember looking at the last house, like bits and pieces of the last house.
Mhm.
And they said that's amazing that I remember that. I barely remember,
Okay.
but I remember that last house.
And what did they determine your injuries to be? Because by the
So
sounds of
many.
it, there was quite a few.
So many.
There were so many.
Yeah.
The main injury that he's still like recovering from is his diffuse axonal injury, which is the brain injury.
Okay.
And if like just to put it in a very simple way to understand, it's like shaking baby syndrome. Of course, that is a very graphic way to put it,
Basically,
but your brain is shaking inside of your skull. The axons that are,
axons.
yeah, they're sheared. And you can't pinpoint where in the brain because of course I was like, okay, well, where in the brain is the injury and how can we fix this?
Like
And
everywhere.
it's everywhere and you can see it on an MRI that it's all over. And so they really can't tell you. I mean, it was moment by moment. Like he may never open his eyes. He may open his eyes, but then it may go south very quickly. It was just kind of wait and see.
But I broke a bunch of bones as well.
Yeah, there was like lung contusions. He fractured his skull. He broke, I wouldn't say broke, strains, maybe broke.
Kinda.
Yeah, neck and back. He went into surgery. on day 3 to have a total femur replacement. He had to have what is it called? Where they a shunt where they put it in your brain to relieve pressure. There was a lot going on every single
Yeah,
day.
now I have metal in my leg. I got metal from my right hip to my
Yeah.
right knee.
A rod.
Metal.
Not to mention that Corey was always suffering from pneumonia through this whole thing because, like I had said, he was sick. So when he went in, he was on a vent. He was intubated, and that just exacerbated his cold, and immediately he was fighting pneumonia. And neurostorming, which is when your
go crazy.
yeah, your vitals are all over the place. So he suffered for, I don't know, probably almost 3 weeks with 100 and something fever. So they had to like put this machine, they call it an Arctic Sun, these pads all over his body that pump cold water through the pads, and kept the room at 63 degrees. So it was like very cold in there, and he was still just like going through the Advil. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know where to go
I'm
from here.
sorry, that was like
'Cause-
a dump of
No, I
information.
no no, and it's phenomenal to be talking to you, Corey.
See ya.
It is.
Somehow I didn't die.
And you know what? Because you're here to help people, and you're here to
Mm.
share your story. And I
I
think
think so.
there's a lot more in your life that you're going to do with it. Can you tell me um the journey? So you didn't speak until 4 months. So could you maybe walk through the steps of recovery? Because what we see now is a phenomenal recovery and
I'd mess up first.
recovering, right? So there's still so much more that's going to happen, right? Over the next,
First off, I was wearing a helmet. I was wearing a helmet.
yeah. So
You
you
know.
were
Yeah,
you were you wore all the protective gear, right?
Yeah.
that's the
Um,
problem with motorcycles. You can do everything right, but it's everybody else, you know.
yeah. And
Yeah.
my mom and dad always said to me, they were like, it's not you, it's everybody else in the road.
Yeah.
And you never kind of
True.
take it into account until you're actually in a moment.
Yeah.
But so the initial week, I'm sure every day was critical. I've no doubt. So maybe talk about the kind of the Alicia from your perspective, the
Hmm.
process and the journey you went on, because at that stage, Corey, I'm sure everybody was focused on you and making sure you were okay, and you had probably the best care and treatment that could be possibly got. But then, Alicia, from your side, you were being that strength, that mum, and that partner. But then I'm sure there was a process that you had to go through as well to protect yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really know how you're going to respond until you're in the moment. I think that applies to pretty much like, well, most things, right?
Yeah.
But I was in go mode and fight mode, really, like not in like a violent way, but like I'm fighting for my family, I'm fighting for Corey's life, I'm gonna advocate for him, and I'm gonna do it with everything that I have. And
Tell about the food. The coach.
oh yeah, like
Suicide.
so we got the firemen would take shifts so that I would go home and see my kids, tuck them in bed, sleep for 7 hours, and then come back up to the ICU when things were really critical. And the firemen would sign up for night shifts to come watch over Corey and text me his vitals and keep me updated if there was any changes on his medication. Because as you can imagine, he was on a lot of medication.
One of my captains.
And one of his captains was in there while the first round of occupational therapists were coming in that early and trying, like, after probably around like week 2 or week 3, like sitting him up and like trying to get him to move and do things. And I'm like standing there, full in, like focused. And he's like, "You're like a football coach," like. But that's how I coped, was just
Yeah.
being in it to win it, and not trying not to dwell too much on this, how bad it was, because it was really bad,
It sounds like you didn't accept it, as in you weren't going to accept that this was it. Like, and it sounds like Corey that you're a character that is the type of person to fight and to
That's
not
accurate.
to not actually sit there and lay down, like that you're gonna fight no matter what the challenge is.
Yep.
Um, and
Yeah,
it sounds like that's in your DNA.
Yeah, I think so.
that's kind of, I mean, we
We
actually
have
have
a
that in common. We're pretty stubborn.
Yeah.
Nice. So the best
Yeah,
part's making up.
yeah. I
Um,
think I didn't even want to view myself as his caretaker. Like, I know that I am and have been, but I just, for the longest time, couldn't even say that word because I refused. I said, no, I'm his partner, I'm his wife, I'm his spouse. And when we get knocked down, we help each other because we're family. And, but I'm not his caretaker.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
no way. Like,
Didn't want the label on it because like this is what husbands and wives do for one another when time is tough, right?
For better or worse.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah,
Mhm.
it is phenomenal to hear that. And what was the rehab regime like?
First, I was in the. Go ahead.
So I would say, I mean, obviously, in the first 4 weeks, that was just getting him stable, where his heart wasn't shooting through the roof, or his blood pressure, those basic vitals. But even then, in the early days, they had occupational and physical therapists coming in just to move his body around and get things going. Um, and it kind of continued from there. We went to the long-term acute care center, which was in some ways a scarier place to be because that really is the crossroads of, are we going to end up in a nursing home, or are we going to rehab? Because you have to qualify with insurance. They have to say, "Oh, you are going to recover, so you can go here." Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a very scary month for me because in the beginning progress is slow, and it's not ICU. You are left alone for many months, like hours throughout the day. They just kind of leave you there and you're sitting there doing nothing. And it's harder in some ways.
What was
In
the
this
turning point that qualified you? Like what was the sign that showed that you were okay to go into that process?
I got him to respond to me. I got him to do thumbs up, thumbs down, I love you. Um, Corey wasn't really responsive with doctors, but he would always respond to my voice, which is typical with TBI.
Okay.
uh, Respond to somebody who's familiar. He also finally recovered from pneumonia. He had one more go of it in LTAC, which they thought he was having in what they call invisible seizures and everything, but it was just another really bad case of pneumonia. He had to go on the vent again, which is a step back, right? So, but we did our 25 days in long-term acute care, and when we went to the Dallas Rehab Center, that's when things started moving and grooving. Like
Okay.
That was like when I formed my first memory.
yeah, that's when he actually
And
he started.
how long were you in the process at this stage?
So this was probably like month 3.
Okay, so that was your
Um,
first memory.
The
yeah,
first thing that I remember is waking up and seeing Lisa.
yeah.
Wow.
hmm
What was
Wow.
the first thing?
I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah, is the
Yeah.
first thing.
Oh, magic. Okay, so
Yeah,
like that was the that you could see the brain was starting to fire.
yeah. I started quizzing him. I was like, "Who are our children?" Like, and I would ask him things like, what, like I would mention different medications that he was on. He was like, "Yeah, it's an anticoagulant and all this stuff." And I was like, oh, "Okay." So his knowledge base of being a paramedic, and it was still all there,
And
which was amazing.
The so which was, yeah, absolutely, because that's another fear, right? Was, okay, you may wake up, but will you remember?
Or be the same person. Many people are traumatically different. They're not. And obviously we have big changes in our life from this accident, but I'm not married to a stranger, you know?
So if you were to describe Corey, then how would you describe him to somebody?
Oh, well, first and foremost, he's a servant of others, um, giving back to his family first and his community, right? And that you can see that very clearly in his career choice. Um, but also just like willpower is a word I would use. Strong willpower, stubbornness, hilarious, dark, hilarious sense of humor, you know?
I've no doubt. I can see you
Yeah.
smiling there, Corey.
Yeah. You know?
Hard being a firefighter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like a
yeah.
whole
Especially with,
energy,
yeah.
not docile, but it's like this very alive and well and, you know.
And Corey, if I could ask you the same question about Alicia,
Mm.
What was the question again? Sorry.
how would you describe Alicia?
Oh, hot. Number one. Uh, Number two, determined. Um, Ferocious. The love of my life.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how. Funny as well. She makes me in the beginning when I couldn't control my bowels or pee. She made me piss myself multiple times. So funny.
For making you laugh.
Yeah,
It was hilarious.
yeah,
Yeah. No, no
yeah.
doubt.
There's a video.
Yeah. It's
That didn't make TikTok, did it?
no, no.
Oh no.
Um, it's gorgeous to hear though, because like it's one of those things that um the fact that you're still you, right? So like physically you're adjusting, right? But mentally you're still you. You still have that
Yeah.
wit. And as you say, Alicia, you're still married to the person you fell in love with
Hmm.
all those years ago. I just want to touch on the firefighters though. Um, it's something within, I think, teams in like physical labor. So I played a lot of sports, right? Um, and the team will always do whatever they can for the individual in the team. And I've seen it not only now with you here saying it, but a friend of ours, at 30 years old, he was diagnosed with cancer and he was in the army. But he was so severe, so bad that like that, the army, his teammates in the army would go on shifts to bring the kids to school so that his partner could go in and visit him. And to hear that's happening within the fire department as well, how important is it for that support? Because you never asked for it, right? They just did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember wondering how anyone could go through this without the support that I and Corey received from my parents, the fire department, and our entire community because we've been in Denton our whole lives. And so it was just immense amount of support and love.
It's
And
incredible to see when I woke up.
yeah, like I was really sort of taken aback, but so incredibly grateful because even just the thoughts or kind words that were shared with me through that time, I mean, I can't even put into words how important that was to
Mm.
help push through, you know?
Oh, my phone has 10%, so I might lose you.
That's okay, buddy. Don't worry. If we
Yeah.
get lost, we can go again. But I I so the process now. So after 3 months, your first memory came back. After 4 months, you said "I love you." Isn't that was that right?
I think
Um,
so.
and then so what has been the like the stepping stones and milestones over the last 12 months that really stand out to you?
The big, huge milestone for me was when Corey finally was able to move home after being gone for 7 months.
Walking was big,
Walking was also big.
huge.
And when he moved home, he officially retired the wheelchair.
Yeah.
So, because it's not just, as you can imagine, one day you're in the wheelchair, the next day you're walking. I mean, it's a whole process. And he was cleared from the wheelchair, um, and got to move home and was like, that was like a new beginning, you know?
Yeah.
And the kids had their dad home again, right? That's
And
huge.
how are the kids?
Great.
Us.
They're so good, you know? I mean, there was an adjustment period, right? So we have a son, and I definitely saw him take up this, like, I'm the man of the house thing, you know? And it's heartbreaking. He's 7. Um,
He's gonna turn 7.
yeah, he was gonna turn 7, right? So it was definitely adjustment to have dad back in the house, and we had to have a conversation. I said, honey, your dad looks different, he sounds different, but he's still your dad. And there was just this time that it took for, I feel like, Clyde to just kind of go, okay, and realize that Corey wasn't so breakable, and that he was here to be the dad, and everything was going to be okay
Clyde's
again.
traumatized though.
Yeah, I mean,
We
Clyde
put him in
was.
special classes.
Alice is younger, and in some ways, it was better because I don't think she really remembers it as clearly as our
Okay.
son does.
Yeah.
But also scared me at first.
Yeah, she
Wouldn't talk to me.
wouldn't talk to him.
Then she warmed up.
It took some time.
Remember, it was the third time they came to see me. She was like hugging me, but it took 3 times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just adjusting to the whole thing because it's for a human adult, it's a massive adjustment, but for a child, the world is so big and unknown that
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And like, do you know what? It's good that as parents you spoke to them and like they know that they're still loved. And I think all a kid wants is to be loved,
Mm.
and in whatever way you can. But like I remember a friend of mine, he was in his 40s and he'd never told his dad he loved him, you know. And then I told him, why not? Just do it. And now he can't stop telling him he loves him. But like it
Love
just
that.
it breaks down a barrier that you think is there. But as a kid, to be told that everything's okay and that we love you, then no matter what happens, I think you can find a solution or find a way forward, you know. Um,
Yeah.
what has been the biggest challenge for you, Corey, since you came back?
Um,
Or since you got back
moving
home?
this. It was moving this arm,
Your right arm.
but it moved now, which is awesome.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Biggest. Let me think. I don't know. Moving this arm was like a challenge.
I suppose
Yeah.
Talking,
every
like
step is a
my
new
voice,
challenge.
talking is a challenge as well.
Well, you mentioned that with parenting too. It's like hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
parenting was very hard.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Without being able to like easily speak, you know?
yeah, and then like you're you kind of like you have a short fuse, you know,
Yes.
which that's part of a brain injury. Your
Yes.
fuse is really short, so you have to watch yourself.
He's
Okay.
really good at it though. I'm just gonna say, like, it I'm in a Facebook group with it's called TBI Wives. And I hear some really, heartbreaking scenarios, right? And I just have to commend Corey on choosing to get up and try every day, because nobody can force you to go to therapy. No one can force you to rehab. No one can force you to even acknowledge, hey, I have a short fuse. I'm going to walk away. I mean, I think even people without TBIs can struggle with that.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
an
that's
everyday
just
thing.
really commendable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good on you, pal. Because like, yeah, it's sometimes hard to walk away, as you say, when you haven't had any brain injuries. Then you're just trying
Right.
not to
Yeah.
react to people, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah, for
so
sure.
what does the like you've been through such stress, right? You mentioned therapy there, Alicia. Do you guys go to therapy? Do you or was that physical therapy that you were alluding to?
No, well, we've after Dallas rehab, we graduated to the Center for Neuroskills,
Hmm.
CNS.
CNS, and they offer a wide range of therapy, including like your emotional therapy, right? Speech therapy, cognitive rehabilitation, education,
Yes.
physical and occupational, right? So you have essentially a 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. work day of rehabbing yourself
Every day
in
of the week.
all areas.
Yeah.
And we were really fortunate to be there for a long time. So, and also they include spouses in that. So I can be there and participate, and they include that in the emotional therapy as well, a little bit, which has been great.
What has been the learning that you would pass on now to somebody, right? Because, and I'm sure you both have different takes on this, right? But if you were to, so if we put a billboard up on the street, right? And you have usually
Mhm.
with a billboard, you have 3 seconds to get the message.
Yeah.
What would your message be to
Don't quit.
people?
Keep going. Don't ever quit. You know.
Yeah, that's a good one. Don't quit, keep going.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, what does the future hold? What does tomorrow hold for you, Corey?
Um. Right now, I'm studying to be a fire inspector. So, because I miss being a firefighter so much. Um. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. Um. We're supposed to get married again.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go renew our vows for fun
Yeah.
in Colorado on the mountaintop.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. That'll be so a fire instructor and to get married again.
Fire
Uh,
inspector.
a fire inspector, sorry, apologies.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
fire inspector. Like that's incredible. And that is you living the message that you just said, don't quit, keep going, you know,
Yeah.
because um and to get married again, when are you going to renew your vows?
Well, we were married in 2017, so we'd like to do it on our 10-year anniversary,
Fantastic.
2027. Yeah.
Fantastic. And imagine the progress between now and then, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Hopefully.
Hope the
No,
hike will
no,
be easier.
it just keep
Yeah.
going. Don't quit.
Yeah,
There's
just keep
no
going.
hopefully. Be like your determination is so um palpable. Like you
It
can
just
see
it
it.
feels like so far away, It's like watching paint dry. That's how it should happen to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say like pushing through those moments is I mean, I remember being excited that he just like opened his eyes and gave me a thumbs up. And there was one pretty hilarious moment when he
There's a
flipped
video.
off his friend in the ICU.
She didn't lose
And
that humor.
oh, there were like 10 firemen back there, and the all of us just roared in, triumph for Corey flipping AJ off, and then you come real high and then you crash right back down because you're like, holy smokes, we got a long road ahead of us still.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? I still feel that sometimes. I'm like, oh, come on, let's just run already, but it's a one day at a time thing. And
And
also putting yourself out there to meet other people like TikTok. I came to TikTok to find TBI people because everything I was being told was so negative and Google was not giving me any hope. So I came to real people, and TikTok is just real people doing real things, you
yeah,
know? Yeah.
I think TikTok allowed me to find you guys. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for that. I must say your determination, both of you. is really really impressive. And the fact that you're both on the same page, like you're both. There'll be days where one of you probably is kind of a little bit off, and the other's helping each other, helping
Thank
you
you.
get through it. Um, I think if you were to like, what's the message that you like? Is there an affirmation that you guys have that is something that you stand by, that
Oh,
helps you
don't
get
give
through it?
up.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Yeah. We're gonna make a video one time for TikTok, and in the video starts off. I'm just standing there, and Alicia has a camera, and then I look at her, and I say, "Don't give up." And so much we think it's
I
hilarious,
think it's hilarious.
and we show it to our kids, and
They
so,
think it's
so
hilarious.
now they say it all the
They
time.
say it all the time,
So funny.
but we love that, you know. It's
Don't
like
give up.
don't give up. Keep going.
So
Yeah.
there's a friend of mine. He got diagnosed with a really rare cancer years ago, and he had this phrase called KYPU, and it's like keep your pecker up, right? And
Yeah.
but he created a clothing line as a result of it. So
Oh,
maybe that's the next thing for you guys is that you have your own clothing line. That's don't
Yeah,
give
don't
up.
give up. Love
A and
it.
A
we're
and
writing
C,
books.
A and C, don't give up.
Yeah.
But like that
One
could
about the
be.
book.
And he was raising money for charity. But you're writing a book,
Oh.
Alicia, yeah?
Oh, well, we kind of started, I was pouring my heart out about what had happened, and just sort of documenting everything that our family has gone through. And then when Corey was up and talking again, I asked him his perspective, and we just started writing it together. And just, I mean, if anything, it's been therapeutic, but maybe kind of like this TikTok, if we get to a place where we think it's shareable and it would make a difference in somebody else's life, I think that would be really amazing.
I
So we're
think
gonna have my book, and she's gonna have a caretaker book.
Yeah.
I think you're making a difference in people's lives without a doubt.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's a reminder to us all that like no one knows what's around the corner.
Yeah.
It's a reminder, and even if you take all the best precautions in the world, it doesn't matter because if there's something going to happen, it's potentially going to happen. So it's about being
Yeah.
in the right mindset to do it. You mentioned about the insurance element. Were you guys insured? Did the insurance help you?
What
Um,
was it first?
Yeah, but then he became unemployed, right? So
okay,
we had to switch to my insurance. But
okay,
then I became self-employed. So now we're getting reinsured. And it is probably one of the most stressful aspects of this that doesn't need to be an added stress, but it
no,
is, unfortunately, dealing with insurance. There's a caseworker that's always floating around talking about a discharge date. And that's very hard to talk to somebody about that. And that's their job. But it's difficult to talk about that when I'm looking at my husband's vital signs, very concerned with his well being, and someone's chattering about insurance and discharge dates. And maybe you might want to prepare and have a hospital bed in your home. And I'm going, excuse me, like, I need professionals helping him. I am not a doctor. Like, I
yeah,
need him here. Like, I don't need to be talking about him not being here.
yeah, he's not going
Um,
anywhere. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And, I say all this, and we were extremely fortunate. And there are people who don't get the care that they need in these situations because of things like insurance and all that stuff. And it's a very dark aspect of the culture that we live in, unfortunately.
mm,
That seems to be an unwanted presence, but and something that I had to navigate, which was really hard.
yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of stories about stuff like that over in the States. Makes it very, very
yeah,
challenging. And that's to your point. You need to focus on getting better and healthy and strong again.
right,
You don't need this hangover,
yeah,
of other things. Um,
yeah.
but is there anything that you would like to share with people, right? Because say take this as an opportunity as your platform. You have a huge platform already, right? But just in any way I can help, like what would you like to share with people, and how can they reach out to you?
Oh goodness. Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead. Thing is,
Okay. Um, gosh, I just, I really my main thing when Corey first went down, I was just sitting there desperate for answers. And I guess, like, send me a message and ask the questions because I too was once a person with a million questions.
that's why Bush was the account.
And no answers. Like, I wanted to talk to people and understand and pour through their videos. In fact, I wish I made more videos because I understand how that gave me so much hope in those really hopeless moments. And I clung to that. And I know that it doesn't always end up the way we've ended up. I'm acutely aware of how we have been so fortunate to have come this far. But it is unfortunate that there isn't more information about brain injury. And I'm certainly no scientist or expert.
Well, there's something
But
you can tell because everyone's brain's so different.
everyone's brain is so unbelievably different, but there is hope. There's hope.
Yeah.
It's not hopeless. So I guess, did I answer that question? I don't
Yeah.
know.
No,
Yeah,
I think you did. I would like to
yeah.
ask you both this though. Just in your own words, like if genuinely, how are you now? As in,
Better than ever. I like my life better now. It's a weird thing to say. I like my life better now than I did before the accident.
why
It's
is that?
weird.
Why is that?
Weird to say. I'm just a more gentle person, more patient person. Um,
There is an appreciation for every
I'm
single
happier
day.
now. I'm happier.
Yeah,
Before I was unhappy.
yeah. It makes you appreciate every moment. I've even thought on Corey's birthday in September, he said, "Hey, I'm alive." I mean, there's a lot in just that saying that alone. Like, and
I'll see every birthday that I have.
yeah, like I'm alive on my birthday. I made it. Like
It's amazing.
it is. It's definitely mental clarity. It's like, okay, I woke up today, and that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a firefighter, you see a lot of crazy stuff, but like only when you're like that close to death, do you say like, do you say it and mean it? Like life is crazy. You can say that to get blue in the face, but until you are hit from behind while on your motorcycle sitting still, you don't know. You know. Now I know. I should be dead. But I'm not.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very thankful that you're not, Corey.
Me
And
too.
Alicia, the two of you are just, you epitomize what strength is, what love is, what a team is. Um, and I think you guys could be so, so proud for the work that you've done to date. Um,
I'm proud of her.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
you can see that, Corey. You can see that, and it's so refreshing to see that there's such a strong bond between you guys, given everything that you've been through, given all the ups and downs, all the tribulations, that that moment when you met when you were 18, Alicia, like that feeling is still coming through in the conversation. The love that you have is so, so strong. And I think for anybody who is going through a really tough time and a challenge, I think if they follow your story and they follow what you've been through, I think they can take a lot of inspiration from it. And I
Yeah.
think for anybody who has gone through a physical injury in whatever shape or form, they can take such inspiration from you, Corey, and how you have never given up and that how you continue to
Mm.
fight. It's been such an honor to have you both on my podcast.
Thanks
Yes.
for inviting.
We're so glad you invited us. This has been really special. Thank you.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Well, I'll leave all the information that I can in the show notes, and we will. I hope we stay in touch,
We
and
will.
you know,
For
if
sure.
there ever is a moment that you decide you want to come to Ireland, to let me know, and I will 100% sort you out with a couple of pints of Guinness.
Please do.
Um,
Yes, you have to let me take your picture.
yeah,
For sure, but I'll bring
and
it up for sure.
and you guys can meet my beautiful wife as well,
Yes.
and our little boy. So
Awesome.
it would be magic. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Until then, Corey and Alicia, thank you very much.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thanks for having us.